It's rare for a model to become an icon during their lifetime, but even rarer for them to break free of that label. However, when you hear the word supermodel, you might think of Stella Tennant. Stella's impact on the fashion world is undeniable, but what happened to her? Let's find out in today's episode of You Won't Believe What Happened to This Supermodel. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the craziest and weirdest stories from the world of fashion. Remember to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss an upload. Act 1. Origins and Discovery. Stella was born on December 17, 1969 in the town of Bathgate, West Lothian, Scotland. She was born into an aristocratic family and spent her childhood on a vast estate called Drumlinrig House in the Scottish village of Thornhill. Her maternal grandfather was the 10th Duke of Devonshire and her grandmother was the former Duchess of Devonshire. She grew up in a lavish environment that included a 2-story library containing over 30,000 historical books, which suggests that Stella had access to quality education. Despite coming from such a privileged background, Stella did not have a particularly easy childhood. Her parents divorced when she was young, and her mother soon remarried a man who owned a coal company. This caused Stella to be sent to boarding school at the age of 8, where she faced bullying due to her striking looks and quirky personality. To escape the harsh treatment of her peers, Stella would often hide in the art department, creating sculptures with materials like wire and clay. After finishing school, Stella decided to study sculpture at the Winchester School of Art, but had no intention of entering the fashion industry. While attending university, Stella supported herself financially by working as a nude model. Little did she know that this decision would change her life forever. The nose ring that changed everything. In 1987, while still studying at university, Stella met the legendary Italian fashion photographer Stephen Meisel. Impressed by her unique features and androgynous look, he photographed her for a black-and-white portrait wearing a nose ring, which became one of his most famous works. This picture caught the eye of American Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour, who invited Stella to appear in the magazine's July 1989 issue. Suddenly, Stella found herself thrust into the spotlight and became a favorite among the most prominent designers and photographers. Act 2. Meteoric Rise. Many designers were drawn to Stella because of her sharp jawline and boyish elegance, which challenged conventional beauty standards of the time. In the 90s, the fashion industry celebrated a new era of feminism, and Stella embodied this shift perfectly. She was not afraid to experiment with her look, shaving her head bald and dyeing it vibrant colors like green and orange. And despite being the daughter of a duke, she showed no signs of arrogance or entitlement. Instead, she had a dry sense of humor and a down-to-earth attitude that made her easy to work with. With her androgynous beauty, Stella quickly became the face of 1990s androgyny, appearing on over 700 magazine covers during her career. In fact, she was so sought after that she became a regular fixture on the runway, walking for designers like Alexander McQueen, Valentino, and Miu Miu. Stella's impact on the fashion world can be compared to other iconic models of her time, like Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, and Christy Turlington. But unlike her peers, Stella was always comfortable in her own skin and never felt the need to conform to societal expectations. Versace and Chanel campaigns. When Gianni Versace first saw Stella, he knew she was perfect for his brand. He put her on the cover of his spring 1991 campaign, and the following year made her the face of his Versus line. This marked the beginning of a beautiful partnership between the designer and the model, which continued until Versace's untimely death in 1997. Karl Lagerfeld also recognized Stella's potential and made her the face of Chanel, cementing her status as a high fashion icon. But being the creative director of Chanel came with its challenges. In an interview with The Guardian, Stella admitted that she felt immense pressure to live up to the brand's expectations and sometimes struggled to do justice to the role. Runway dominance. Stella was a force to be reckoned with on the runway. With her statuesque frame and unwavering confidence, she commanded attention every time she walked the runway. Her sharp cheekbones and piercing blue eyes were accentuated by her signature tousled blonde hair, giving her an effortlessly chic and slightly disheveled look. Unlike many models who relied on high heels and fancy clothes to make them look taller, Stella didn't need any extra help. She possessed a natural elegance that made her stand out even in the most crowded runway shows. Her presence on the runway was mesmerizing, and she seemed almost robotic in her movements, which was a shock to many people who were used to seeing models strutting down the runway with high heels and fancy clothes. Stella's ability to carry herself with such poise and grace left audiences in awe. Breaking beauty standards. In the early 90s, the fashion industry began to shift away from the glamorous and unattainable ideal of the supermodel and embrace a more casual and relaxed style. This movement was spearheaded by designers like Calvin Klein, who wanted to create clothes that were functional yet fashionable. Stella, with her boyish figure and unconventional looks, was the perfect fit for this new trend. She broke away from the typical mold of what a model should look like and paved the way for other unconventional models to succeed. Alongside other icons like Kate Moss and Kristen McMenemy, Stella helped reshape the definition of feminine beauty and prove that there is more than one way to be a fashion model. Her influence on the fashion industry was undeniable, and she became a role model for aspiring models who did not fit into the traditional beauty standards. Act 3. Fame and private life. Despite her incredible success, Stella never craved fame or attention and shied away from the spotlight whenever she could. In a 1994 interview with Vogue, she admitted that she had no desire to be a supermodel and that she only pursued work opportunities. Stella was content with being a behind-the-scenes figure and preferred to let her work speak for itself. Marriage and motherhood. In 1999, Stella married French photographer David Lasnet, who shot her for several magazines, including French Vogue and W. The couple had 4 children together, 2 sons and 2 daughters, and divided their time between homes in France and Scotland. Stella once said that she loved being a mother, and that it was the most rewarding experience of her life. She juggled motherhood with her modeling career for several years before eventually deciding to step away from the spotlight. Moving back to Scotland, Stella lived a quieter life, spending her time gardening, playing field hockey, and riding horses. She took a break from fashion, but she never completely left the industry. She made occasional appearances on the runway and in magazines, but she was careful to keep her public profile low. Act 4. The shadows behind the glamour. Although Stella's life seemed perfect from the outside, she struggled with mental health issues for much of her career. She battled depression and exhaustion, which is common among models who work long hours and travel constantly. In a 2016 interview with the Daily Telegraph, she revealed that she never enjoyed the pressures of the fashion industry and found the constant travel exhausting. Fashion industry pressures. As a model, Stella faced the same pressures and challenges as any other woman in the industry. Despite being a supermodel, she was not immune to ageism and body image issues. In an industry that values youth and thinness above all else, Stella had to constantly fight against the odds to stay relevant. Despite the challenges, Stella remained successful throughout her career and was featured in countless magazines and on numerous runways. But the relentless cycle of shows, photo shoots, and travel took a toll on her mental health. She developed a fear of flying, which made traveling for work a nightmare, and the strict diets required for modeling made her feel miserable. Money and security concerns. Towards the end of her career, Stella began to worry about money. Although she had never been particularly materialistic, she realized that she needed to earn enough money to support her family and pay for her children's education. This concern was unusual for a model of her stature, but it was a testament to the unpredictable nature of the fashion industry. One day she could be on top of the world, gracing the covers of magazines and walking for the biggest designers, and the next she could be out of the limelight and struggling to find work. Despite her worries, Stella never went back to her old tricks to try and stay relevant. She didn't resort to getting plastic surgery or drastically changing her appearance to fit the latest trends. Instead, she continued to work steadily, doing a mix of high-profile and commercial work. Controversial return. In 2011, Stella made a comeback in a series of controversial campaigns for luxury brands like Chanel and Burberry. Her return to the spotlight was met with mixed reactions, but Stella didn't seem to care. She had already established herself as a fashion icon and didn't need to prove herself to anyone else. Some people were surprised to see her return to the runway after so many years away, but Stella's presence on the runway was just as powerful as it had always been. She commanded attention and respect, and her effortless elegance and chicness were on full display. Despite her age, Stella looked incredible, and her unique features and statuesque frame still turned heads. Act 5. Final years and tragedy. Stella's final years were marked by tragedy and controversy. In 2015, she split from her husband, and in 2018, her father passed away. She missed the funeral because she was busy with work, but she returned to Scotland to spend time with her family. Stella's niece, who she was very close to, was devastated by her aunt's death and took to social media to express her grief. She described Stella as the best person she had ever known and the most beautiful soul. While Stella's death was a tragic loss for the fashion world and her loved ones, her legacy will continue to inspire generations of models and designers alike. From breaking beauty standards to paving the way for unconventional models, Stella's impact on the industry is undeniable. Her unique features and statuesque frame made her a standout on the runway, and her effortless elegance and chicness continue to be admired by many. Although she is no longer with us, Stella's memory will live on in the hearts of those who knew her and in the history books of the fashion world.